Okay, so here we are. We actually going to do the final paragraph of the first chapter today. I was thinking of doing a whole summary, but of where we are. But I figured that probably what we'll do is let's just go into this final paragraph, which has its own kind of wisdom in it, in and of itself. And then probably what we'll do next week is that we'll go and do a summary of the whole chapter, just the whole chapter, just to make sure that we all got it on some level. And we might also look at next week at the Mittler Rebbe's chapter 1, which is very short, and we'll see why Reb Hillel of Parach had to teach us what he taught us in this commentary on chapter 1, because the Mittler Rebbe is so short. But now that we've gone through the Reb Hillel of Parach, we'll basically understand the Mittler Rebbe, who writes in a very brief way. So that's what we'll do next week. And then the following week is going to be Shushan Purim. So we're not going to have a class, because certainly for people in Israel, Shushan Purim is a real thing. I live in Jerusalem, and Shushan Purim is Purim. So actually this year in Israel, Purim is 3 days. It's Friday, which is regular Purim. Then Saturday, Shabbat, is really Purim, but it's really Shushan Purim. But Shushan Purim gets pushed off till Sunday. So it's a chazaka on Simcha, and also on Nafochu, on turning things around. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see things really turned around here in Israel.
Amen.
And we'll have good reason for being besimcha. Okay. So Mila, that's it. I'm not going to do the, where we are, the roundup. I think we should just go into the last paragraph.
Right. So anyway, as we know that Reb Hillel is an extremely organized when it comes to this work, specifically writing the left biur, right? If you notice, there are 2 biurim. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, as you notice, these are the 2 biurim. Do you see my full screen or not? Okay, here we go. There are 2 biurim, right? It's biur aleph and biur base, or we call it a right biur and a left biur. And the left biur is, we could really call it, it's more like a left brain biur. We could actually see it's extremely structured. He asks questions, and he, in a very organized way, answers them in a very systematic and very organized. The right biur, which we could definitely explore at some point, is more a very creative way explaining the same ideas, but coming from a very different angle altogether. And they're very complementary, because our mind at one point works in a very organized and systematic way, levels, and so on and so forth. And there are 2 types of learners. We all know it as teachers, that there are gardeners and there are hunters. Gardeners, they like things to be very organized. They sit in rows, and you plant the seeds, and you have seasons for planting. And gardening in general is so organized. If you ever tried to garden, there are months, it's inches between the seeds, and sunny, how many hours a day sun, how many hours a day shade, and it's a whole chachma on itself. And hunting also. Hunting is not such a Jewish thing, but there are people who are hunters. Hunters, these are the people who like adventure, who like something new, something unpredictable coming your way. So if you are a hunter, please do yourself a favor, go to the right bureau. You'll find plenty of surprises there. I think we had enough surprises in the left bureau, but if you're really looking for more adventures, and so that's where it is. Anyway, so we have these two biurim. So according to the biur base, meaning our left biur, is the first paragraph pretty much asks a bunch of very, very important questions that are fundamental questions in Jewish, in Torah. And now we are concluding. The concluding paragraph is summarizing everything what was taught up until now. So because there is a thing in Chassidus that beginnings are wedged in the end and the end in the beginning, so I don't know which one goes first, right? Tchilatan b'sofan, b'sofan b'tchilatan, or sofan b'tchilatan, b'tchilatan b'sofan. I'm confusing, but it's all one, right? What does this mean? Right? It actually means that sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. We say it every single Friday, right? When we sing Lech Adodim. We all know that Friday, Shabbos is the last day of creation. And somebody actually asked, what did Hashem created on Shabbos? Hashem created on Shabbos menucha, kedusha, right? That's not actually a creation, but it's a sharing. There is definitely something qualitatively different about Shabbos. And so what does this mean? Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. The end result is the first thought that a person has. And in Sha'ar Yichud, we know it, right? We went through this a lot of times. What is the first? A person builds the house. You see, a person is doing like, what do you call it? When people build a house and they do Chanukah Sabayis, right? They invited a bunch of people and they're sitting into a nice meal and everybody's celebrating. What does this tell you? This tell you that the original thought, meaning it was the end result, but that was that person's original thought. What does this mean? Original thought of me, he actually saw that, or she actually saw that in her mind, this whole event. That was the original thought. That's why she went through the whole process. And anybody who did any construction know that it's an exceptionally painful process. And she was ready to put up with this so she could have this oneg here. That oneg was already in her brain, in her psychic, and we call it bina liba. This is what was her bina liba, or his bina liba, when they saw. That means sof maaseh, the end result, b'machshavat tchila, was first in her thought. So let's see what was first in the thought, applying specifically to this paragraph. Right? We know that we asked the three questions of Shema Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Yes, we said that it's Yisoda v'amud hachachma, is to know that there's God, and then He makes everything happen. Right? And then we ask the question, why Shema, if this is such an important mitzvah, that it's Yisoda v'amud hachachma, why Shema? Why not Chachma? We know that Chachma is higher than Bina. And by now we know the answers. Why Bina and not Chachma? Right? Because who can share? Why is it? Why Chachma, not Bina? Why such an important mitzvah is given with Shema? Hashem could have said, like in this week's Tanya, right? He says what? He says Histaklos is the main thing, right? Yesterday's Tanya. Yeah, Histaklos is the main thing. Histaklos is Chachma, is that when you actually, redeem yourself of your limited perceptions and you're able to see the concept, not just hear about it. Okay, and uses exactly that expression. So why are we so obsessed with Shema? Why Shema? Why not Re'eh? Look, Israel. It could have been just look, Israel, not hear, Israel, right? Look. Why is it? Come on. It's the second round. So we got to know the answer to this question. It's okay.
Miriam, you want to say something?
The concept of, well, bringing it down, making it a reality, bringing godliness into the world. I mean, isn't that the whole purpose of being able to articulate and to share and to make concrete and to concretize and in this world? I don't know. That would be my understanding.
Beautiful. But why? So how is Shema provides what you just said? How is Bina, right, provides what you just said versus Chachma?
The whole process that we've been through, the need to be humble, well, not humble, but what was the word? To be bittle, it's not really the word, but in order to be able to open ourselves up to something higher with a deep passion and desire for knowing more. And I don't know how more, the entire process that we've been through from, in all its details is, I don't know how to put it, but
okay, good. Fine. I feel that you're sensing the answer, but the words are not there yet, right? So you're having a Chachma experience, right? As we call it. Okay, anybody wants to share? Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with that? The Bina brings us to the high, because it's from the higher root, that it brings us to the fuller, deeper state?
Yeah, exactly. Because the Bina is rooted higher, and in order for us to experience Chachma, we need to have Das. Okay, remember? In order for us to experience Chachma, we need to have Das. And what if I don't have? That means I'm not shaykh to this. Because you see, the Torah speaks to everybody. Right? The whole goal is that everybody will have experience of Hashem, not only special people. So therefore, Hashem is giving a tool that everybody could access. Everybody has. I mean, unless they are mentally impaired. I'm talking about normal people, right? Me and you, who, function in the world on some level. So if we are, that means to us, maybe we don't have Das. I mean, we read about Das, right? Das, it's a very high level. Not everybody has it. So Hashem is not going to give us a mitzvah to know him without giving us tools that we could actually fulfill the mitzvah. Right? Hashem cannot give me a mitzvah of giving tzedakah and not give me with what to give tzedakah. Right? Hashem is not going to give me to keep kashrus if I don't have food. Right? So Hashem is compassionate, right? Etzem Atov. So he's giving us a mitzvah to know him, and it's a very lofty process, as we saw that, right? But the beginning, he wants to give it with something that everybody can relate to. It's Bina of Bina. Bina of Bina, everybody could relate to. Okay, because he wants everybody to relate to, and then the question is, okay, but even more that, the fact that this quality of Bina is able to be on such a lower and tangible level, as Miriam said, that it's a part of our life, right? It's really in every detail of our life. Because we need to see Hashem in all the details, right? It's not just experience once a year on Yom Kippur. We want it now. We want it at all aspects of our lives to be filled with Hashem, right? Because we want it in such a tangible way, like very real yesh, right? We don't want Hashem in the state of ayin. We want Hashem in the yesh form, right? And because we want Hashem in this yesh form, Hashem says, you know what? I'm going to give you a tool that's rooted in such a high level that no matter where you are, no matter what state of awareness you are, that rope is going to go so low because it's rooted so high. And will be able to take you out of any circumstances, anything. So you're not going to say, well, I wasn't learned, and I wasn't this, and I wasn't that, because we could find a million excuses. No, I'm going to give you a tool that will keep you all the way through the whole process, is going to inspire you. That doesn't mean that we don't have to work. It's going to be very hard work, but we no longer have excuse, I cannot, because we can. Right? So Hashem is taking that away. So I'm going to give you such a high potency of Hashem in this whole process, which is oneg. Oneg is something that only Mittel Rebbe started talking about. You should know. And not, Alter Rebbe usually didn't discuss much the levels of Keser. He mainly spoke with Chochmah down, but the Mittel Rebbe is the one who opened up this whole discussion about the Keser and revealing the levels beyond Keser and beyond Tzimtzum and so on and so forth. And he received a great number of criticism about it, even from his father-in-law. And the Alter Rebbe said, just leave him alone. Let him reveal. This is his avodah. This is where the Chassidus needs to go to. And as we know, that Lubavitch started with the Mittel Rebbe. He's the one who created this whole movement from Chabad to Lubavitch. And interestingly, he's the one who's talking about Bina Liba, right? The Luba is the heart. Luba is love. That's what the whole, Lubavitch comes. And we see that in the work that the Mittel Rebbe is doing. So this is why Bina and not Chachma. In short, in one sentence, if just to put that sentence in our mind, because it's a lot of words, so we need to kind of to come to the Omek HaMusak, right? This is the bottom line now, right? The Omek HaMusak of this chapter. Why Chachma and not Bina? Because Bina is rooted higher, and therefore it could reach much lower. To Chachma, you need to climb to. Okay, Bina has the ropes already down on your level. And that's why Bina and not. Okay.
So Mila, just to put these words in for what I hear Mila saying is basically Bina of Bina, which is Iyun, which is accessible to all of us, is connected high in the most high level, which is on the level of Bina Liba. So the Iyun that we are able to do, the basic effort that one can put into learning, is rooted much higher than even Chochmah, which is in and of itself a high level. So that's just in other words what I understand Mila to be saying.
Yes. Yes, and that's why we all could do Iyun. Okay, so now we're going to go to the bottom, all the way to the bottom of the first chapter. Just you could close your eyes so you're not going to get dizzy with me moving it so fast. And we're going to read the last paragraph and see how he actually concludes it. Wow, what an accomplishment. I'm like looking at all these letters. Okay.
So in the English, it's page 312. I mean, in the Hebrew, it's page 312 on the bottom, and in the English, it's page 81.
Okay. Venimtza, and we find, I think this is the most, what do you call it? The most used word in Ma'amar Chassidus, Venimtza, right? Venimtza, it's an opening word of so many Ma'amar and Venimtza, and we find, Muvan Mikol Hanal, what is understood from everything what we learned above. Okay, Shebechinas Ion, that this aspect of Ion, canal, as it was explained above, Hanikra Bina Shebabina, which is called Bina of Bina, Hu Hamevi Lechol Gimel Chelke Hasechel Shelemala Mimenu, Nikra Chabad. Interestingly, so Bina of Bina has the quality to actually unlock your Chabad. That's what he says over here, right? V'nim tzamuvan mikola now. Right? And it's understood from everything what we said above that this aspect of Iyun, which was explained, which was mentioned above, which is called Bina of Bina, he is the one who brings to all three parts of your brain, which are above it, right? Because Bina of Bina is the lowest part of brain, literally a lowest function. It's a Bina of Bina, right? If you would draw a linear perspective, it is the lowest level, and the most external level, analysis, like how this is it. That's all what you have. You hear, you process it. It's a very low level of processing. But I know, like, we're like, oh, analytical mind, but that's not what it means. It's like literally a very, very low level of perceiving, of perception, intellectual perception. Okay, and that's what unlocks all three levels, which is Chachma, Bina, and Das. Hanikra b'loshon Kabbalah ima v'aba Eloin. And what this Chabad is called in the Lashon Kabbalah. So now just write it down in case you will see somewhere in Ma'amarim, ima v'aba Eloin, apa mami and tati, basically, right? Your mother and your father. Okay, that's, it's Chabad, right? We say it every Birkas Hamazon, right? We say it, Ve'es avi moiri ba'ala bais hazeh, ve'es imi morosi ba'ala bais hazeh. And it's a halacha that what if a person is a yesayim, right? What if it's an orphan? He doesn't have mother and father, but he still should say it. And it's actually in the Rebbe's Haggadah, where the Rebbe says that he should still say it. Why? Because this refers to his Chachma and Bina. So a Chachma and Bina are our teachers. That's what it says, Abba Moiri v'imi Morasi, right? My father, my teacher, and my mother is my teacher. Besides the fact that they are our teachers by design of nature, but they also refers to our Chachma and Bina. And this is our higher mother and father, okay, in the Lashon of Kabbalah. Now, not only that we're able to perceive Chabad just from an external perspective, but in the three dimensions, which we know, which is in the Omek, and in the Rochav, and in the Orach, that's in them. Okay? Everybody agrees that we know this knowledge, at least on paper? At least we know where that is, right? Baruch Hashem, Neriya wrote this amazing summaries, and there's an English translation there. And from all the work that we have done, do we know where to find it? If we are to have an open book test, we know where to find it, right? That's what they do actually in halacha. There was one Rav, he said, there's no closed book tests anymore. Why? I do open book tests. Why? Because first of all, it's impossible to remember everything. But at least they should know where to look for answers. Right? So he has open book tests. Why? Because they should know in which chapters, what is discussed. They could look up. Because, being a Rav is an exceptional practical thing. It's not about how much they could remember and retain in their head, that they should know where to look for. So yeah, we have thumbs up. We know where to find it. Okay, great. Okay. And from now, we will actually understand a very, basic saying, which is, I believe it's in Pirkei Avos, Im ein das, ein bina. If there is no das, there is no bina. Chulu. Ba'ofen acher. In a different way. We already discussed that, if you remember, when we were talking about bina and chachma and omek and all that. Ba'ofen acher mid'il. Right? In a little bit different way than what we discussed above. Okay, the Masha Amar im ein das ein bina, that the fact that he said that if there's no das, there's no bina, who do you think this refers to? This refers to Barava Mashpia, to the Rav who is a Mashpia. Why? Because he's up down. Now tell me, because he's coming from the aspect of Ma'amik, right? He's on the das vibe. His whole vibration is das. He connects and then he gets whatever he wants. Okay? Do you know such people? That's people manifest in the world, right? Even Goyim already into manifestations. That's what they do. They connect very much and they want something very, very much. And that's how they manifest. Okay? So they want to be ma'amikim. So now, these are the people who are on the level of Atzilus. And you're like, what? We did not say even a single word about Atzilus up until now. Why in his conclusion, he's bringing this whole Atzilus business, right? But that's what it is. This is the person on the level of Mashpia. Okay, level of Mashpia is the level of Atzilus. And this is very important. Now, he's a little bit, before he's closing the statement, he puts little grains of growth into your head. Why he wants to do it? Because he does not want you to think that you really understood something, right? Because remember, who is the best student is the one who is drooling. Remember? Sfataf notfot mar. So he wants to keep you drooling. He's going to put few little delicious stuff out there. So although part of you would feel fulfilled, they're going to have yesh, right? Oh, we know the first chapter. Amazing, we concluded. At the same time, he's going to put few grains of what you do not know or yet to know. And he's going to say, you know what? If you're going to continue with me further, you'll find out what this is about. And what do you think a person who is drooling is going to do? He's going to follow. He's going to say, okay, no problem. Right? That's a trick of a teacher, right? A good teachers, they tell you everything. They make you feel good that you completed, but there's always but. But truly, there's a deeper way and there's another angle, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. Okay? So he wants to keep your interest going. So you, although you are tired already, you're like, oh my God, why I have to go through this? It was such a hard, for 2 times I went through and I understand nothing. So you could say, okay, no problem. But something about Atzilus, I was interested in this. Something about this, something about, okay, let me go. Okay, they use this trick a lot in marketing different courses. You took that? They give you first a free course. You join, you wet your feet, you feel excited. And then they're going to tell you, but if you really want to learn, you have to pay. Okay, so that's what he does. Okay, that's an old strategy. Okay, in the level of Atzilus. Now we know that the way Atzilus operates, it's very different than what Bia operates. Okay, it's a different operating system. And we're going to learn it in chapter 3 in very, very great detail with quite few mashalim. Okay, just going to mention it here. The way godliness operates, it's in the Helem Begilui. It's in the revelation and concealment on the level of Atzilus. On the level of Bria, Yitziri, and Asiya, it's called Etzem V'Ispashtos. That's all. It's just, they work 2 systems very, very differently. Okay? Now, why am I mentioning this to you? Those neshamas that are on the level of Atzilus, they are mashpim. They are the ones who give, because Atzilus is the one, Malchus of Atzilus is the creator, okay? And she gives birth to the world of Bria, and it's so on. And then we say, Malchuscha, Malchus kol olamin, right? Your Malchus is the Malchus of all worlds. Okay, now, those who are neshamas of the Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, they are the Makablim, they are the recipients. Okay, so now it is an accurate assumption to say, if you know of a tzaddik that became a leader, mistama, he is a neshama of Atzilus. If he is the mashpia, and you are the recipient. So all our Rebbeim is known that they are the neshamas of Atzilus. Now, so they are on the level of this maimik. Now, neshama of Atzilus is in a state of a vision. It's called histaklos. Okay, so they see, and that's how they bring things down. We, right? So it's accurate assumption to make that Atzilus represents the letter Yud in Hashem's name, and the Yud is Chachma. Okay, Bria is the world of Bina. Okay, and this is the first Hey. Yitzira, it's the 6 emotions, and Asiya, you could guess, it's the lower Hey. Okay, and this is the sphere of Malchus. Malchus is different than 6 the spheres. Okay, so now having that map in mind, and I think we should have actually created some visual with that. I'm regretting we didn't do it, but we could use our whiteboard to create one, if that helps. But anyway, so with all that, we're just going to continue in the text. Hainu mishu b'pchinas atzilus, right? We're coming back to the discussion that if you don't have das, you don't have bina. That refers to the Rav. Why? Because he b'pchinas atzilus. He is on the level of atzilus. Shemadrigose hu b'pchinas ri'iyah. He is in the aspect of a vision. Kama amar eze mitkarim hakim haroye esanal, right? Who is called a smart man, hakim, right? A smart one, a wise man. He is the one who sees the outcome. You see the word sees the outcome, and chachma. Chachma is vision. Chachma is ri'iyah. That's just how it is. Okay, why is it? She'etzlo hilucha shefa, that for him, the flow of the godly flow, the way he perceives, meaning people on the level of Atzilus have a different perception. They are less restricted because they are in a state of ayin, meaning anything could come out of it, right? How do I know that they are in a state of ayin? Didn't we say that Chachma is ayin? Chachma is ayin. So if we're talking about the world of Atzilus, is the world of ayin. Okay, how you could say how it could be a world and be in a state of ayin, right? How is that possible? That's the specialty of the world of Atzilus. That's the word Atzilus comes from the word etzel. It's emanation. It's not creation yet. It's literally right next to etzel, right? And this is the first one after the tzimtzum. It's the first world after the tzimtzum. Okay, she'etzlo shefa lamala lamata, right? So it's lo hilucha shefa. The flow of the shefa is from above to below. Okay, milamala lamata. Umitchila nigla etzo b'chinas adas. And in the beginning, what reveals to him is the aspect of das. Why? Because shu ha'искashrus ba'atzmius or in sof, because they don't have anything. Like if you are in the world of Atzilus, you cannot take selfie, okay? Because you don't feel yourself. You do not feel that you are separate from Hashem, okay? So in the world of Atzilus, the The connection, it's all within the connection. It's all connecting to the essence of Or Ein Sof. And automatically, nimshach etzlo b'chinas Or Ein Sof hamelubash b'chochma ilah, right? And automatically he experiences the light of Hashem, the way it is enclosed in the Haya Chochma, in the level of vision, in general, bichlal. Ubimele mistakel bepirti agiluim, the Islapshus Or Ein Sof, bepirti apartzufim iluim, the Yud spheres, the Atzilus, shezeu b'chinas bina. And when he zooms in to the details, that person, right, who is on the level of Atzilus, zooms in into the details, for him, this is his bina. So his bina is never hearing. Okay, it all goes through the vision. When he looks in general, that is chachma. When he looks in particular, it's his bina. Okay, now he's using a lot of fancy words there. It's in Hebrew, and a lot of it, I'm sure, I don't know how they translate it into English. You're probably like flying to having a cosmos experience when you read these words. But this is not. It's very, very simple. I just simplified that the person on the level of chachma, okay, his chachma on the level of Atzilus, right? His chachma is in general, and his bina when he looks at details. Okay, that those who are the masters of vision, that they are called the eyes of the congregation. Everything is in the aspect of histaklos, looking. Okay. The chachma by them is in the general histaklos, looking in general. Okay, will be slapshus Or Ein Sof, in the enclothement of Or Ein Sof, b'chachma ilah, in the chachma ilah, or b'chinas bina etzlam hu b'chinas re'iyah bifrat, and the bina by them is looking in particular. B'pirti apartzufim hanal. Now, in the details of all different partzufim that's in that world. Okay, up until now, it's more or less clear, right? Anyway, we're talking about something that we're not there yet. So I guess by the time we're going to get there, we're going to experience and we're going to say, oh, that's what Shari Yichud was talking about. Okay, but this is what we know. Now, if you want to go more deeper into this concept, Kuntrasei Spilos goes into this whole journey of discussing how godliness is perceived on all four levels. Okay, as we move into his bonus, you will move up those levels as well. So it will be applicable at a certain point to you as well, the deeper you go into his bonus. And it's really a beautiful work. I think if people are really going to master Kuntrasei Spilos, there will be no more need for mental health practitioners, because he explains all levels there, and very, very, very beautifully, and all the emotional struggles that people could go through, and so on and so forth. But there is this aspect of histaklos. And interestingly, they bring an idea there, Reb Hillel and Mittel Rebbe, about doves. Okay, the doves derive, doves, you know, those beautiful birds, doves, Yoina, they derive pleasure in their relationship through looking at each other. Okay, by the way, if you don't know how dove stares at you, I once experienced, they literally stare at you. It's something unbelievable. And you actually could feel the energy. I'll tell you a short story to reflect that. Once my kids are running, I mean, I have an exceptionally lively kids. If you know my kids, they have a lot of chayas, a lot. So summer, they never home because they're all outside running around, doing their things. And all of a sudden they're coming like it's, and also my neighbor's kids, they're coming like 6, 7 kids running into my house, holding a little baby dove in their hands. It was a turtle dove. I'm like looking at him, and I'm dealing with my chickens that, they insisted on having in the house. And now they bring a dove. And I'm thinking like, oh no, like I'm not raising this guy, because those are not chicks. They don't know how to eat, and you have to put in the mouth. It's like a whole situation. Okay. And they're like, it fell out of its, house, whatever, its nest. And they found it somewhere by the garbage, and, they had Rahmanas on it. They brought it home. Who are they going to bring it to the mother? And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? So I'm like, I'm not raising it. This is it. I had enough kids. I have chicken. This is it. I'm not raising it. So I went out to our backyard of our building, and they showed me where the nest was. And basic on my proximity wasn't so high. So I said, what's the big deal? I'm going to put a ladder. I'm going to climb, and I'm going to put him back and let them deal with it. It wasn't so small. It was already had all the beautiful feathers. So I took my ladder, we put it out, and as I'm climbing, I don't know what it is, I just felt a very, very strong and piercing energy. And as I look up, just to respond, it's not a conscious thing. I see two doves literally staring at me. I got the message, what are you doing with that child? Okay. And it was incredible, because they literally were looking at me in a very concrete way. And it's interesting. I never experienced something like this. So I quickly, I was taken aback. I was like, I'm not taking your kid. I really don't need your kid. I had my own. I put them very nice. I put this kid very nicely in his nest. And as I was going down, I was pleasantly surprised that this little kid already knows how to fly, and he flew away to his parents. That was it. So I was like, okay, mission accomplished. But I'm trying to say the histaklos of the doves is very, very special. And they literally it's very, very beautiful. So this is the level of Atzilus, where they really steer at the concept. Whatever they want, it comes through the histaklos. Okay, and Masha'ein Kain, but it's not like this. Im ein bina ein das. If there's no bina, there's no das. It's not like that. Which is what? This is us. If we don't have bina, we're not going to have das. How come? Haino. The neshamas ha-mekablim, the neshamas of the mekablim, right? Us. We are the mekablim. We are receiving the flow that are coming from Atzilus through the neshamas of the tzaddikim. That's why it's important. It's actually a mitzvah to attach ourselves to tzaddikim, because this is how the flow goes. Shehem neshamas biyah. We are the neshamas of the biyah, bria, yitzir, and asiyah. Shemadrigasam hu b'bchinas shmiyah. That our level is in the level of shmiyah, of hearing. Okay, vahasaga, right, and understanding. And vehispalus min hasaga. And we have our excitement, our movement into anything is when we understand. Okay, it's not enough for us to see. It's when we process through our faculties, our specifically bina faculty, that's where we have our hispilus. From the hasaga and frumkas tivis, and our natural frumkeit. Okay, now this is b'poel mamash. This is the level which is also at length described in Kuntrasei Spilus, which is our basic frumkeit in the action itself. And these are the levels of nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Okay, hanimshach mebechinas barata yitzarta, right? That comes from the level of barata yitzarta nefachta bi, right? What we say by the davening. Shetzlam, that's by them, hahiluch, and it's so interesting because we see Reb Hillel kind of keeping an objective view, right? he talks about the neshamas of Atzilus etzlam, like by them, and also the neshamas of the Biyah. It's also, he calls it etzlam. It doesn't say etzleinu. It doesn't say they etzleinu. So I guess he sees himself somewhere in between Atzilus and Bria, just being that intermediate connector. Anyway, so etzlam ha'chtilu chashafa hu milamata lamala, that by the makablim, our shefa goes from below to above. Interesting, right? Because we perceive flow going up, down. But he says, no. By you guys, flow is down, up. Okay? And from the beginning, we need to awaken the aspect of the iyun. What is the aspect of iyun? Shu b'chinas pnimius bina. And this is the inner aspect of the bina canal. And it was explained above. And only then he comes to das. Be'ilui achar ilui. Higher and higher. Until he actually reaches the maimik. He actually reaches the level of Atzilus. Lif'ol omek the chochma bina. To activate the omek of the chochma and bina, which is what? What's omek of chochma and bina? What's above your membranes? Well, come on.
Koach HaMaskil.
Beautiful, exactly. Because the membranes is your separation, is our separation that separates our own perceptions, how we understand the world. And maybe there are millions of people who understand the world this way, right? It's our own perceptions. We are below the krum, we are below the membrane, okay? Into godly perception, into how Hashem has a vision for every single one of us and for the world in general, okay? And there is seemingly a separation. It's a very thin separation, but there is a separation. And to break through that krum, to break through that rakia in our mashal that we gave last week, is where is that division that we are no longer captured by das tachton. Das tachton is our understanding of things, right? And we transition into das elyon, right? Into how Hashem sees things and what he wants to do with the world. Okay, and with every single day, Kanain Hara, our president, keeps us up the toes, right? Every day there's something new adventure. Literally, it's like it's so entertaining. Every time you open news and you hear like this bizarre stories, of I don't need to tell you. You read news as well, right? And you're like, listen, and you're like, what's going on? We definitely understand that there's something very big going on in the world. Okay, and so this is it. This is the time where we see when the Vahapachu, in little sense, from one to the next, you see like, this crazy things emerging, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Right? Only 1 month ago, this one was a dictator, this one was an aggressor. And after 1 month, it just literally switched. I'm like, in little sense. And at this point, we don't know who is right, who is wrong. This is not our job. One thing we know, we need Melech HaMashiach. That's clear for everybody, right? And this is an exciting energy in general, like we see in the world. Is like, at any given moment, things could flip. If 10 years ago, people wouldn't think that things could flip mina katzeh lekatzeh, I think with all the world's events, it's ripening our understanding and our consciousness that things could literally change in, like, you'll just open news and you'll be like, oh my gosh, Israel captured all these lands. I'm serious. Like, I think my brain is ready for this. With craziness that's going on in the White House and all around the world and with Syria and all this. And I'm like thinking, I was like, you know what? It's literally preparing our minds that nobody, when we go to sleep, we have no idea what Trump has in his mind and what is he going to execute tomorrow. We don't know that, right? And we don't know what's happening with the rest of the world either. So we definitely could conceive the idea that nothing is in stone. And although we have the skinny Eretz Yisrael, it's time to add some weight to it. And we're just going to have this beautiful harchava into Keini, Knizi, and Kadmoni. And the same thing is with us. We might think like, oh my gosh, we don't know, and it's so hard, and it's this and it's that. We could go to sleep, and all of a sudden, our Etzem Neshama is going to say to Hashem, enough is enough. I'm going to go full force revelation. Okay? And we're going to open our eyes, and we're going to live in a totally different world. And as it says that Yeshua, the Geula, is going to come in the blink of an eye. And we see these events in the world is happening like that. And we might feel like, oh my gosh, we can't keep up with it. But that's actually for good, because it prepares even our Nefesh HaBahamis not to be set in stone. Things are changing, and they're changing for the good. And what's going to happen when our Koach HaMaskil is going to open up wide? We're going to Lahaskil Haskolis Chadashis. We will be able to conceptualize new concept, Mimasha Shama Miraba, from what we heard from our Rebbe, Be'ilui Achar Elui, higher and higher, Le'ein Shiur, without any limitations, Chulu V'dal, right? And he says V'dai L'mevin, right? And it's enough to understand. And as we know, it's going to be V'od Yoter Tov, right? This famous Rebbe's letter, and Rabbi Arush took it in the literal sense, and he ordered one of his chassidim to write this famous song. I think the whole of Crown Heights, we heard all the teens. Can you imagine 4,000 teens were walking around and singing the song? So I catched it as well. And I'm sure those in Eretz Yisrael, they hear it a lot as well. Yeah, okay, so let me finish my class. Here we go. And that's okay. I see we have 4 questions or 4 insights.
Lila, do you want to stop sharing so we can just be?
Yes, I will stop sharing. Okay. So Gitti Stolik said Attilus actually was mentioned once in the previous one. Okay, beautiful. Okay, great. Okay, where do we find people in the state of Atzilus? The Rebbe. And I don't know, like for me, this is, you know, I'm still digesting what the Rebbe had said. Like I'm not looking for any new. Yeah.
So part of my question is that it's very abstract because it's the Rebbe, and we don't. So what I'm wondering is, anytime we're learning from someone in any kind of a shiur, it's presumed that the person who's giving the shiur knows more than I do.
No, but that doesn't mean they are in a state of.
I understand, but does that mean that I still need to be mevatel my intellect and just in the same way as if it was a true mashpia coming from Atzilus? I mean, how do we enact that dynamic?
I understand. I wouldn't suggest you do that simply because you need to know who you're mevateling yourself to, right? It's
so it's very hard. It's hard to learn.
1 second. Now, I would mevatel myself to Rabbi Hillel. I would mevatel myself to the Mittel Rebbe. And if anybody who is teaching me, who seems to be making a progress into this, yeah, I would be mevatel myself. But that doesn't mean it's going to be to the same degree as I would do for a tzaddik, or you know, for a Rebbe or something like that. No, it's not to the same degree.
So that's it's a far reach. Like, where do you find a teacher like that? Because, you know, I just find myself always questioning, like, and very much in the ego state when I'm learning. Well, how does he know that? Where is he coming from? Or is it, you know? So how do you eliminate that?
But then you have a text.
That's what I was going to say.
You have a text. You have to nullify yourself to the text, not to people.
That's why we
never nullify yourself to me or to Neri. I would never suggest you that, because you have to understand that I am not a tzaddik. I could tell it to you openly. Okay. Oh, my baby. Okay. So now it's in the text. Anybody who will tell you that whatever they are saying is not in the text, and this is, you have to listen to them. There are people like this. I actually have met few people like this who had courage to rename people's names because there were such big shots, big mashpim, who would tell what other people's mission in life because they energetically felt it. It's scam. I'm going to tell it to you right away. And there are people like this circling in Chabad circles who take on that mission of kind of replacing a Rebbe. Okay. This is not what we're trying to do here with Neri. On the contrary, we are bringing you to the text. Everything what we have mentioned here, it could be found in a text in a very concrete way. Like just point your finger and you could find it in a text. And anything what I say, I could find you in a text where I learned it from. And this is what it is. And we are facilitators. I think this is the true word for it, meaning we could facilitate you and help you and help anybody who is looking for to understand text from the text. But there's actual text here. It's not like, we're creating things and, with our own understanding and without having any backup information. Now, could it be that we are limited in how we explain things? For sure, because we are practicing it through our own kalim.
So I feel that I'm not really talking about you, because I feel that you do that, and that's, for me, that's what's unique about this year, that we're doing this together, and yes, you're rooted in the text, but I don't necessarily find that outside, and
no, I agree with you.
I think it's not good for me because the kind of questioning is coming from my ego. Like I might think, well, who does he think he is? Usually it's a rabbi, but
maybe
where is he coming from, or
can
he really answer my questions, or does he really care about my questions, or I don't know. It's just on a different level.
But you know what? I'll tell you something, Nechama. I had that, and I don't have such a, maybe that should be off the record, right? Like I like to ask a lot of questions and question and, figure out and all that whenever I'm learning outside. And I just don't take things for the value. And I want to see it in a text. It's very important. And a lot of times I came across quite a few rabbis where they would draw conclusions, right? Based on the Sikha, draw conclusions that are so far and sometimes exactly the opposite of what the Sikha or the Maimer was talking about, right? And therefore, when you turn on your analysis, when you turn on your iyun, you will sense the truth. And when I say sense, you will just feel it. You will feel if somebody is like really scamming something. Oh, that's very weird. And you need to listen to this intuition. You need to listen to your chush, because your iyun will open up so many things and will save you from so many troubles, and you will be able to differentiate what's true, what's not true. Isn't it was the first paragraph, right? Remember, the bina is this quality to separate emes and not emes. This is just what it is. It's literally a quality of bina, and that's why it's so important to literally, he uses the expression la'oirer iyun, to awaken iyun. And in a lot of us, it's sleeping. And he says it's a first step. Without an iyun, we cannot get anywhere. Otherwise, we could become, subject to cult mentality. In cults, you don't have to have iyun. On the contrary, they shut down your iyun. No questions asked. Judaism is not a cult. Chabad is not a cult. Ask questions. There are always answers to questions. And if you look at the Rebbe's volumes of Likutei, what's it called, the Igros Kodesh, it's like, oh my gosh, have you ever just tried to make a project to read through all the Rebbe's letters? Answers to so many questions. There's always answers for so many questions, right? But at the same time, he uses the expression pnimius bina. Pnimius bina is the inner dimension of bina. It's when we are going there for the truth, not just for the sake of asking a question, meaning we're not questioning, we're asking a question, clarifications. I didn't understand something. How does that make sense with something that you said before? And you know what? Rabbi Hillel is the best about it. Even with the rabbi, even with the Mittel Rebbe. Mittel Rebbe used to give 18-hour mamarim. Okay, with all due respect, I don't know how many people in that generation could just sit still through and really understand a mimer for 18 hours. Okay, so imagine a rabbi sitting for 18 hours talking. Okay, and he would sit still, completely still, with full bittul, and then would argue with the rabbi. Who do you think he is to argue with the rabbi? No, he would argue with the rabbi. Says, Rabbi, you said this there. How does that make sense with what you just said? And the rabbi had to give him answers. Because knowledge has to be personalized. If it's not in his domain, if it's not in his bina, he doesn't owe it. It's nothing. It's a light that came in and the light just flew out. And in the chapter 2, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to talk about the two levels below Iyun, which is Yisrael Saba and Tvuna, and how the knowledge actually creates an engravement in our brain. Okay, a circuitry in our brain. And this is phenomenal information just from a neuroscience perspective. Okay, but Iyun is the beginning. Iyun, it's a must for us to really disseminate what's true and not true. Otherwise, we could be just scammed with so many different things coming out, and for all generations, right? It's even if somebody comes about as a Navi, right? We're obligated to check him out. Is he a true Navi or not? And yeah, there's no such a thing as no questions asked. Oh my gosh, we have 17 people in this room.
Good.
Yeah. So
the other thing that I will say to Nechama is, Mila, you're talking about asking questions, but I really see that if you would come to this class having done some Iyun into the paragraph that we learned, then you would have real questions. The real questions come from a place of knowledge, not from a place of lack of knowledge. It's a very different kind of question that you have when you've studied something and you have questions about it, as opposed to you haven't really studied it and you just, you don't know what's flying. It's very different. And really, this study was an attempt to, bring that kind of consciousness to what we're doing, to say, study the text. As Mila said, all we're really trying to do is give you access to the text. But if you're just staying with getting access to it and not doing the Iyun, so then the impact is much less. But I get frustrated with that. I get frustrated with myself for not doing it enough, even more work. But the fact that everybody's, a lot of people, you keep coming back means that even, whatever level you're doing it, there's some benefit. So there's always benefit. But, in this first chapter, he shows us how this very accessible process of Iyun, of engaging with the text and analyzing it and trying to go deeper and really trying to understand it and doing everything that you can, like putting in higir, putting in effort, will connect you to a very high place in your neshama, and the level of oneg, bina liba. And that in and of itself should be some kind of encouragement to engage in it, because it's really what we want. It's what we're looking for by our study of Torah, but somehow, for the most part, we're not used to putting in effort into Torah study. Perhaps it's because, as women, or maybe as Baal Tshuva women. And there are also some texts where maybe you can put in effort, but the text itself is very kitzur, meaning it's very short. So it's hard when you put in the iyun, there's so many gaps in the teaching itself. And that is where Reb Hillel is particularly interesting, because he is so systematic that he doesn't leave many gaps. Like, he really takes us through the process so that you don't have to say, well, why is this introduced, but we don't get the full picture. He really, in this chapter, you see his methodology is that he really is so detailed and so systematic that it's very unusual. You don't get that in many of the writings, especially of the Rebbeim. And that's why, we think that it's a really useful text to begin to really do iyun, because it gives you all the information you need to know in order to understand that idea. As opposed to, I will say for myself, sometimes I'll do iyun on a sicha, and I'll feel that it's very brief, like there's so much that is left out. Because there are other sichas and then other maimorim that fill in those gaps, but it's not necessarily always all in one place. Whereas here, we find that Reb Hillel puts everything all in one place in a very, very systematic way. And that's his genius. He's a genius as a teacher, as really a link between us and certainly the Mittler Rebbe in this case.
Yeah, and our Rebbeim gave an enormous amount of respect to Rabbi Hillel. And even our Rebbe, there are many, many Ma'amarim where the Rebbe quotes Pelach Harimon, the work of Rabbi Hillel that he wrote, explaining Chassidus, different Ma'amarim and all that. He is one of the very, very few Chassidim that received very, very strong encouragement from the Rebbeim to write his own Chassidus, and the Rebbeim studied as and the Rebbe refers, all the Rebbeim refer to Rabbi Hillel as tzaddik according to Tanya. Yeah, not just tzaddik according to the world's perception of a tzaddik, right? But tzaddik of Tanya. And it's very, very powerful.
Tamila, I think with your permission, I think that we should, just give people an idea of how we envision going forward, since that we've come to, the end of this chapter. And we also really want to get feedback from you so that we can improve the way in which we go forward. As I said in the beginning of the class, maybe some of you weren't here, that next week what we'd like to do is do an overview of this chapter, just to give us a very easy way of making sure that we tied up all the bits and pieces, and also maybe having a look at the Mittler Rebbe's chapter 1, and you'll see what it was that the Reb Hillel was teaching us in order that we would understand the Mittler Rebbe's chapter 1, like what this was an explanation of. And then the next week, as I said, is Purim, because it's Shushan Purim here in Israel on the Sunday. And then going forward, what we'd really like to do and think would be useful to do is to go to chapter 2. And chapter 2 is not as long as chapter 1. It's not as, I would like to say, it's not as difficult as well. But
yes, because it's not as difficult, because he's only describing 2 levels.
Right. What he's done in chapter 1 is he's given us a big picture, And then in the following chapters, what he does is he takes one point out of that big picture and opens it up.
Is
So
there an
that's-
English translation available of chapter 2?
We will give you an English translation. We are working on it.
You're doing it. You're translating it.
We're translating it.
Great.
Yeah.
A question. Do you have in the Google Drive all the charts and all the records and everything else? If I want to put for myself a booklet, I missed so many classes and I do want to go over the material. My question is, if I print it all, would I have a little booklet that I could study from the whole chapter 1? Is it all on the Google Drive with the charts, with all the references?
It mostly is. We have to just update maybe a couple of images and a couple of. We also are putting on the Google Drive the summaries
And the
so-
worksheets as well?
and the
I wanted
worksheets.
to ask you, maybe we had an idea, wanted to ask a group about it actually. If would it help you if we will reorganize the drive in a way that everything like paragraph number 1, video, everything that's for instead of dividing it by categories like videos, worksheets, summaries, we'll just have paragraph number 1 and all the information that you need for that paragraph. Would that be
Absolutely.
helpful?
Absolutely.
Miriam
To my
says no.
opinion.
Miriam says no. Okay, so can we keep, maybe we should keep, yeah, that would be amazing, Shush. Maybe we could keep just 2 options. We will keep what we have. And, I'll sit down, I don't know, with Naria when we'll be able to sit together because she's in Eretz Israel now. And, the 7-hour difference is a challenge. So, and then, we'll just organize folders for those who prefer to have like, what do you call it? More like paragraph-based study. Like everything what you need for paragraph number 1, all the slides, blah, 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 everything is there. Everything what you need for paragraph number 2, everything what you need for paragraph number 3. So this way you could always go back and listen to the paragraph and see all the supporting materials that you need there. Okay. But that, yeah, something that would be good for everybody. And I guess we could just keep it both, and whoever needs, will keep the way it was up until now. And those, yes, we could do, yes, include worksheets per paragraph. Maybe you could help to access the Google Drive. Yeah, Nahama, sure. I was only able to print out directly from the WhatsApp. Okay, so maybe what I could do is, or maybe Naria could do, we could record how to use the Google Drive and what's where, and we'll share that video. And whoever needs will be able to, view it and see what's where, and that explanatory for that review. Okay. I was wondering, we have Bakosha Nafshis with Nuria. Okay.
We have what?
Bakosha Nafshis, right? It's a personal request. If we could take now about 5-7 minutes, I'm going to share a link both on this chat and also on WhatsApp chat, meaning on the Zoom chat and also on a WhatsApp chat. We created a form. It's a very, very short questionnaire. It's an anonymous form. There will be a question that will ask you to actually if you want to disclose your name or not, right? So we want you to feel comfortable filling this out. You don't have, we really want to have a very, very honest, thing. Now, since we're going to be publishing it on a WhatsApp group, we really, Baruch Hashem, there are 17 people in this. We won't be able to put name to facts or anything. So please be as open as possible. Very important for us. It's, very, very simple questions. If you could just take your time now, simply because I know we're all busy. I know I myself did it my courses. Yeah, I'll do it, and then I'll never do it because I'll never get to it. If you want to take it again later on, you could do that. If you felt that you left, some details out, that's totally fine. We just want to get with Naria a certain perspective as to what we have done or not, from a Makabel's perspective. Okay, what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. I'm going to share the in a group. Yeah, I don't know. I have a little problem with accessing my WhatsApp from this computer. Naria, would you mind sharing it to the chat? I'm going to share it to the WhatsApp group.
What? I don't have it. Where is it, Milan?
I'm going to share it to, one second. I'm going to share it to our group, and then you'll just share it here because my WhatsApp is not connected to this.
Okay. So it's basically a questionnaire. We really want to know like what worked for you and what didn't, and what you gained, and so on. And when we come back, if people want to also share verbally, sometimes that can also be easier.
Yeah, I share it, Naria. You have it.
All right. So can you? Well. Mila, can you share it on the screen as well so that people who are watching the video will be able to see what it is that we are asking? So I just shared on the chat the questions, and it's on the WhatsApp.
Second, let me just go to my Monday.
Honey. Jane says it's raining. It might get ruined in the rain. Do we have?
I'm sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties, but I'll get there.
But in the meantime, does everybody have access to this form? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, so if you can just spend some time now and and fill it in. So I'm going to